Right, welcome to my Journée Typique, le matin, part 2. So the last day we initially made out a basic but passable version of an answer to this, and then we added a couple of structures to make it a bit fancier. So let's just recap on what we said briefly. So we said, je me lève à 7h30, get up at 7:30, et je me lave dans la salle de bain, I wash in the bathroom. Après avoir mangé, after having eaten, mon petit déjeuner, je prépare mon cartable, I prepare my school bag avant de quitter la maison à 8h20, before leaving the house at 8:20. So starting off today, I just want to say a little more about this structure, the avoir mangé there, the past infinitive. That's the form of the verb that always comes after après, where you have a verb immediately after après. It has to be in this form. And this is the usual form, but not always. You have the avoir here, and if it's a regular er verb, you'll have an e acute. So, for example, if you're talking about your evening routine, let's take regarder, to watch. If you want to say after watching the news or something, I finish my homework. So again, if you want to pause and have a think about that, because I'm going to fill it in now. Again, that would be the same idea. Après, then the avoir, and then the regarder. And again, if you say a little bit faster altogether, it's après avoir regardé. You run the S here into the vowel, it becomes a Z sound. So après avoir regardé, etc. Now, however, if you did happen to be using not a regular ER verb, but an IR verb, a regular IR verb, like say finir, to finish. Now, if you want to say after finishing my homework, or after finishing my dinner, or whatever. So again, I'll tell you, again, if some of you want to pause and have a think about this, you can. But the rule is it's après avoir fini. So a different rule for our past participle here. It's just an I at the end. Après avoir fini. Like so. And if you did happen to be using a regular RE verb, so vendre is our example here, to sell. Now you're probably not going to need to say after selling something, but anyway, just for completeness, if you were using one of these verbs, a regular RE verb, it's après avoir vendu. So you take away the RE and you put a U on the end there. So that's the three types of regular verb, the ER, the IR, the RE. Unfortunately, then you've got 10 or 15 key irregular ones where you'll just have to learn your past participle bit, but we'll come back to that another time. Now, with all those verbs we've used so far, we've had avoir as what you call your auxiliary verb, but there's a certain number then where we're going to have to use être instead. So here they are, just a limited number. So you've got aller up the top there, to go, arriver, arrive, partir, to depart. So they're mostly verbs of movement. You're going up or down or in or out. Some of you might recognize these are the same verbs where we must use être in passé composé. Anyway, let's take arriver. So if you want to say, let's say you're carrying on with your daily routine after arriving at school, I do such and such. So as you can see there, it's après être arrivé. So this time, instead of avoir, we use être, just with that particular list of verbs. If you're a female person, you may want to you will need to put an E on the end. If you're arriving in a group at school, you might be putting an S on the end. So let's say you were saying after returning, if we're on to the evening routine. So to return, you have a few options actually in French, but let's go for rentrer here. Now, so again, that's on the être list. So if you want to have a think about how you would say after returning from school at whatever time, so the answer is you'd say après. Again, it has to be être instead of avoir, rentrer. And again, you might need to put an extra E on the end if you're a female. Well, if you're returning in a group, if you're talking about a group of people, you'd have an S, but it won't affect the pronunciation anyway from an oral point of view. Again, if you say a little bit faster, après être rentré, like so. Now, the other case where you're going to have to use être, apart from that list of verbs we looked at, is if you've got a reflexive verb. So we said briefly the last day, reflexive verb where you're saying je me something, so we can look at them in detail another day, but the usual idea, people are doing something to themselves. In this case, lever is to raise. So first thing in the morning, I raise myself. I get up, in other words. Now, if you're putting one of those in what's called the past infinitive, well, I'll show you here. After getting up, as you can see there, it's après m'être levé. So you've got to have the être the lever, E accent, and the other element you've got to remember the m part. It's after raising myself, literally, is what you're saying. So if you were saying after washing myself, again, I'd recommend, if in doubt, you have a little think about this, because I'm going to tell you now. So it's same idea. Because it's a reflexive verb, you must use être again. It's après m'être lavé. And again, potentially an extra E at the end. Again, as I said the last day, the idea of mastering these structures is not simply to learn off a particular one and use it in a particular oral answer, but if you can just apply it in general, you can use it in, as I say, a diary or a narrative or any kind of written piece. Now, we've one more grammar structure I'm going to look at before our final version. If you're feeling a bit worn out, you could take a coffee break at this point, but if not, this is the last structure. So if we want to say while doing something, so, I ate my breakfast while watching the television or while reading the paper or whatever. So the while bit is going to be on. Then you're going to have what's called a participe présent. That's the ANT form of the verb. It's going to end in ANT, ing. Now, if you want to, so the rule is that will normally work is if you take let's say we want regarder. We want to say, sorry, I'll get back and forth here, while watching. Okay, so when I say while watching, we want to use regarder. Now, what you do normally work is if you take the nous of the present tense, nous regardons, take away the ONS and just replace it with an ANT. I also forget about the nous while you're at it. So it's on, says the while part, and then regardons. So instead of an ONS, put an ANT in its place. You can see that? Yeah, while watching. So if you were saying écouter is to listen to, so you want to say I eat my breakfast while listening to the radio or something like that. Again, if you want to have a pause and a think about that, please do so. But it's basically the same idea, en écoutant, ANT, like so. Or if you want to say finally while reading, so lire is to read. Now, unfortunately, lire is one of these pesky irregular verbs. If you want to say I eat my breakfast while reading the newspaper, you're going to need to know your present tense of lire. Nous lisons, L-I-S-O-N-S. So when you take the O-N-S off that, replace it with the A-N-T, that's what you get, en lisant, while, reading. So we're just about ready for our final version 4. Now, I've actually added a new verb at the start here. The verb se réveiller is to wake up. So I wake myself. Je me réveille à 7h30. Et après m'être levé, after having gotten up, je me lave dans la salle de bain. Et ensuite, next, then je mange mon petit déjeuner et en lisant le journal. Et je prépare mon cartable avant de quitter la maison à 8h20. So the new element there, just while reading the newspaper, en lisant le journal. Okay, so that should get you, I would reckon, top marks with a bit of luck. Okay, so again, that's it for today. So there's my email if anybody wants a one-to-one lesson, €35 for the hour, and it's keltony@gmail.com. Okay, bye for now.